How does this go here? Morning, Danny. Margene. Morning, Margene. Ja, det er Brenda. Hey, Dustin. Wendy.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
Oh.
Dr. Foster, this is Sarai. I just wanted to tell you you were glowing last night.
Where was I glowing at?
On your prayer,
Yeah.
The light was surrounding you. You looked good.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, I had to do something different. So.
It was good.
Yeah,
it's
that's
beautiful.
great. Yeah. Well, we're going to take that same approach this morning. I'm going to share a few things with everybody that I think culturally it's appropriate, and things that we do with our American Indian way of life plus community. So, good morning, Matthew. Charlene.
Good morning.
Hi, my name is Julie Barlow with the Student Council. Today is February 19th, 2021. Lunch today is spaghetti noodles with spaghetti sauce, meatballs, and cheese, or a cheeseburger. Sides are carrot and celery sticks, steamed broccoli, and assorted fruit. On this day in history, first fries was inserted in a Cracker Jack box in 1913. Library leaders teach the matter in the library by washing your body, sharing and taking turns, using appropriate and friendly language, being respectful of adults and others, and voice level 1. Our February goals are best sportsmanship in PE, highest truth in the home reading, and class goals. Birthdays today are Calvin Barlow, aka Calvin Butler. Here's Mrs. Thomas with the announcement. Thank you, and welcome to school today, everybody. Happy Friday. We are outside recess today, maybe even.
There you found you everybody heard the morning announcement.
That sounds like a lot of joy for our schools that haven't had students in the buildings.
Oh yeah,
So,
well, that's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. So I think it's a little over 9 o'clock now. So what we'll do is we'll get started. I know that our speakers updates are waiting. You know, I know that they do have a busy schedule, and I appreciate for Dustin to participate and give us an update on the legislative updates that they have going on at the Capitol. And we have the Title VI programs with Eileen and Tia to share some of their ideas that they have implemented in their programs. Now, I'd like to do something a little bit different this morning. I'd like to share, you know, when we look back into our American Indian way of life that started way back even before 1492, they've always practiced their spirituality. They practice their way of life. They practice their beliefs, their values, and their traditions. And this morning, I'd like to share a little bit with you that I'm gonna go a different route. I'm gonna burn some cedar for my home. And when I do this, you know, it's the reverence that we hold. And I think we can all say a silent prayer for our families, our loved ones, those people that are dear to us. Also for those people who are struggling. I think oftentimes that we do have people that need some assistance in terms of their lifting of their spirituality. And for me, this is one way I could do this. Oftentimes I burn cedar in my home. This is, again, it's just a tradition that we carry on as a household in this family. So I think you guys will all basically have just a moment of silence and think about someone that is dear to you, or someone that has brought joy to your life and your family. So, and then after that, I'll share something else that I thought it would be appropriate too. So just a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your presence this morning. And I'd like to share something with you. This is basically, and then we'll get to the agenda. First, again, I'd like to welcome everybody here, and again, Dustin and Eileen and Tia and all those people who are guests and the Title VI folks. I think this is going on our 46th or 47th week that we haven't been back to the main office in Salt Lake City. So it's a little bit different, and I'm beginning to become a little bit more versed in what I need to do and how it's done. And I know that everybody out there is basically going through the same process in terms of, how the how-tos. Our tradition in our family is oftentimes that we share a lot of things that we have with our families. And I started this project back in 1999 with currency, with money. When the Department of DC, they came out with currency, with quarters. And what I did was that my oldest daughter and we started this project. And this project started in 1999. And what we did was that we purchased a calendar, not a calendar, but the picture, a diagram of the United States. And each one of these United States have a quarter associated with the states. And when those quarters first came out, they were in mint condition. There was no scratches on it. There was no marks on it. It was like really fresh right off the press. So we started back in 1999 and we finished the project in 2008. And what we have here, just to show you that all the quarters are associated with each state and the state capitals. So this is a project, again, that we started. And on top of that, on the back side, a little bit of history. It talks about the historical part of the state, what the states are located, their capital, as well as their, their favorite bird or emblem that is associated with their states. So this is the one we did. I did one with my oldest granddaughter, and I did one with the same thing with my youngest granddaughter. So I think within another, 50 years, they'll go back and see that these are projects that we worked on when they were growing up. And just recently, I started this program, or not program, but starting to collect these quarters where we do have the national parks with my youngest grandson. and we're just about through with this. And again, you see that each state, they do have a national park. We have that quarter associated with that. And again, these quarters are, I feel that they're in mint condition. There are no scratches and no marks on it. So we put that together. And the last, I think that this goes from 2010 through 2010 through 2021. So the last one that we're going to collect in 2021 is Alabama. So this is something that we, I think, getting closer to my grandkids. You know, that's something that I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm pretty sure that you guys do have other projects that you guys have for your household also. So that's just something I thought I'd add. Now, this morning, again, good morning. We have Dustin Jensen from the Division of Indian Affairs Director. He's going to give us an update on some of the latest information on the American Indian projects that they have going through the legislative session. So, Dustin, if you're on, you can go ahead and take the floor.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Chuck, can I borrow a quarter? Hey. Well, you got a quarter cents. Okay, so first announcements on February 24th, so next week, we have American Indian Caucus Day. It's going to be held virtually, so it's going to be a little different than what it's been, just because the Capitol is not open for crowds at this time. And so we have login information on our website. And so if you just go to the Utah Division of Indian Affairs website, there's login information, registration for it, if you'd like to attend. And we have a nice program set up. If you can make it, we'd really appreciate that. Also on February 25th, we have our Utah Tribal Leaders meeting, and that's also a virtual experience this month. And we have different presentations from departments, divisions, other agencies of the state that request to share things with our tribal leaders, and it's always good information to hear and to see what's going on. So those February 24th and 25th. So it is legislative session right now, and there are a few pieces of legislation that we were following, and we do our best to identify. I mean, there's a ton of legislation out there, but we do our best to identify which ones may affect or have effect on tribal nations. One of the first ones that we picked up was House Bill 112, and this was identified because it did mention Native Americans spiritual advisors. Okay, so and what this House Bill 112 does is it allows a couple that's getting married. So usually when you get married, you have to sign a license and you have to have a ceremony. Okay, there's two different requirements. Who can conduct that ceremony is regulated by state law. Most states regulate their own marriage laws, and in Utah, they list judges, justices of the peace, mayors, elected state officials, and then they also list Native American spiritual advisors. It doesn't really give a big definition on that. It's not like they're going to call each tribe and say, hey, Dusty married your kids, is he a spiritual advisor? No, tribes don't really keep a list of who their medicine men are or spiritual advisors are, but they just have to be recognized by the couple as someone who's able to conduct a wedding. But this bill would allow the couple themselves to solemnize their own marriage. And it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. It was in a House committee, and it didn't. There was a motion to move it forward to other committees, and it didn't go anywhere. It just stopped. So it didn't really affect the tribes too much. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere, like I said. So you don't have to worry about that. But it was there, so I thought I'd share it. The Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Task Force, that passed the second reading in the Senate. This was passed last year. but because of COVID, the task force that was created didn't have the time or the resources to get out and visit with tribes to do a proper investigation inquiry on MMIWG. And also, a lot of the tribes were closed off. A lot of the tribes closed their borders and didn't allow anyone to come in, and they shut down huge portions of their tribal government just to concentrate on COVID. So this legislation just asks the legislature to extend the deadlines for this task force to really go out and do what the legislation asks, right? Ask those questions, do some research, hold town halls, and really figure out why this is a problem, why this is impacting Native women in this way. So it's slowly moving forward. It doesn't look like anyone's going to try to stop it. No one really puts up a fight on the hearings that I've been in. Usually we do the presentations and the committees that are hearing it, they all they make motions to pass and move forward, and it's still going forward. So it looks promising that deadline will be extended. Another one that may be of concern is House Bill 169. House Bill 169 is Disaster Response and Recovery Act Amendment. This allows legislative bodies within the state to end disaster declarations by the governor. It could be the state legislature, a county legislative body, a city legislative body. There are some rural areas argue that blanket declarations like this, when a governor declares a whole state in a state of emergency, it may not always be applicable to rural areas. We got a call from Navajo Nation saying, hey, what's going on with this? And so I asked emergency management how they felt about it. And first they didn't say any much, and then they asked, why would this be a concern? And I said, if Navajo Nation's calling, they're probably concerned that because all the towns are just right outside the borders of the reservation, right? And if there are small towns where Navajos go to shop, if those towns aren't enforcing best practices, pandemic best practices, then chances are that, people going into that town will probably, if we talk about COVID, they could catch COVID, be infected there, be exposed there, and then turn around and take it right back home to their reservations. And I said, so if, there aren't a lot of grocery stores on the reservations in Utah, and so they have to travel off reservation to visit these small towns that aren't following best practices, and the risk of them bringing any diseases or viruses back to the reservation is really high. And so the governor's legal counsel they jumped on it, and then they're trying to work with the sponsors of that bill to see if they can find some wiggle room there where tribal communities that border non-Indian towns will still be protected. So I think that's an important. I was glad Navajo Nation spotted that one. Also, place names amendments. So Senator Iwamoto, she was approached by Ed Naranjo in Ibapaw, Utah, and he asked her if she could do something about geographic locations that contain the name Squaw. And he gave her his reasons for why that wasn't appropriate, and so she said, well, let me look into this, and she looked into it and found that 56 areas in Utah contained the word Squaw in it, in locations. So she asked us why aren't these names being changed? And one, we're a state division, so we can't go out and change the names. That has to be a community effort. And so she goes, well, why aren't communities changing these names? And one of the reasons why we found out was because they felt like the name change process was difficult. It was really vague. I talked to the name change committee, and they're like, no, all you need is this, and this, and it's done. And when we read through the rules together, it was like, well, I guess it looks harder when you read the process than it really is. So this legislation allows our division, the Division of Indian Affairs, to create a template application to make it easier for community groups that would like to change geographic names. So it's passed. It passed the House, and the only people that voted against it were probably expected. It was Lyman and Shipp. They voted against it, but it's passed. It's going to the governor's office. He should be signing it soon. And like I said, the process already existed. This legislation just allows us to simplify the appearance of the application so people can follow it easier. And so I think that's why there wasn't a lot of dissenting votes for it. Let's see. On the other hand, there was a concurrent resolution for Native American mascots and equality in public schools. That did not pass. This resolution encouraged schools to change Native American mascots. It failed on the House floor because of, and we'll get really sarcastic here, completely logical fears that this resolution was a step away from PETA demanding all animal mascots be changed too. Others wanted the offensiveness of Buckaroo and Fighting Scott to be also considered. We'll see how far that goes. But it's not moving forward. There's just, we have representatives here that on the Wasatch Front, and then you have rural area representatives that are really attached to their mascots. And also at the same time, you should just see this in as a whole in context. So we had the geographical name place amendments going through. We had the House concurrent resolution for Native American mascots going through, and then we had someone pushing for the change of the name of Dixie State for Dixie University down in St. George. The legislators, for some reason, couldn't keep those separate. They just mashed them all together, and they made one big argument. You're changing everything. You're erasing our history. All these different arguments. And every time we spoke at these committee hearings, we had to tell them, these aren't one topic. These are separate topics, and we need to look at them separately. But yeah, so that one, the concurrent resolution, and it wouldn't mandate that they change it, just encourage public schools to change their mascots if they had Native American mascots. So that didn't pass. The last one, I think that's come to our attention, and we didn't catch it at first because, and this is a problem, it's House Bill 297. House Bill 297 creates a Colorado River Authority made up of a committee of 5 people that are chosen from 5 regions of Utah that have a link to the Colorado River. And so the first thing that came up was Navajo Nation saying, whoa, how does this affect the Navajo-Utah Colorado River Settlement Act? And so we checked in on that, and it doesn't affect that. What it does affect is how Utah uses its own apportionment and allotment. So everybody is through the settlement, water settlement, different states, state of Utah, different people within Utah, they are allotted a certain amount of water. The state of Utah just says, we're creating this Colorado River Authority to figure out how we're going to use our own water. Okay. So this did cause problems with the Ute tribe, because the Ute tribe is still trying to settle their Colorado River rights with the state. The state and the Ute Nation have not been able to come to any sort of agreement, and the Ute tribe, and I believe rightfully so, are upset because they weren't consulted in this legislation. They weren't consulted, especially when the state and the tribe haven't yet settled their water disagreements. It's kind of a bold move for the state to move forward without even consulting the tribe and saying, hey, I know we haven't come to an agreement on this, but we're going to go forward anyway, or we'd like to create this this water management authority, we'd like your input. They didn't do any of that. And so, like I said, there'll be regional appointments, and going through the legislation, the House Bill 297, I just did like Control F searches, right? I looked for all the tribes in Utah. None of them are mentioned. The word tribe is not mentioned. American is not mentioned. Indian's not mentioned. So it's on its face. There's no consideration for tribal interest in this. And like I said, this can be a big problem, especially when there are tribes the state is still working with and settling their Colorado River allotment. And so we sent that to the governor. The governor's office is responding to that. His legal team's responding to that, and the governor's office is working with the sponsors of that bill to try to include something. Even Senator Iwamoto, who's not part of this bill, she called and was like, at a minimum, one, there should have been consultation. Two, there are no tribal representatives on this board. Even if they're not working as advocates for tribal water rights, there's no one on the board that's able to identify what possibly could be an issue affecting tribes at the very minimum. So I know that she's involved in that. So those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of legislation that we feel like have an impact on Native people. There's one, and I just came to my head right now. There's one called the Crown Act out there. This was originally put forward as a movement pushed forward by African American women who wanted to wear their hair natural, and when they wore their hair natural, they received some type of discipline in their workplace. And so, and employees were getting away with it because it's pretty easy to spot when someone's being discriminated against because of their race, the color of their skin, and so let's say that they can end up getting hired, right? But as soon as they wear their hair naturally, that gives the employer a reason to discipline or even let go because your look's not professional. So there's no link in law that says wearing your hair natural is directly linked to your race. Like if an African American woman wanted to wear an afro and she had a lot of hair, right now an employer could say that's an unprofessional look, you can't work here, or you need to fix that to work here. And now he could not say because you're black you can't work here, because that's really obvious you can't. But the Crown Act creates a link between natural hairstyles that are directly related to race. Okay, I spoke at this hearing because I think it could be the same way with Native boys who wear their hair long, okay, or may wear their hair in braids, and for some reason people are intimidated by the way certain people wear their hair. So I spoke at that because I thought, if a Native man were to get a job and then during that job start growing his hair, his employer could say, hey, you can't wear your hair that way, that's not professional. But the Crown Act would create a link between a natural hairstyle that is directly related to this race of people. It went to the first hearing and it didn't pass. It was a tie 2-2. The chair of the committee decided not to vote on it because most of his committee was gone. He was just like, you know what, I think that we need to more people need to hear it. So we're gonna hold it and redo it again so that most of my committee can hear this and we can re-vote on it. So remember that, the Crown Act. I'll keep you posted on that. But that's all I have. I thank you all for your work in the schools that you do, because I still have kids in school and I'm very appreciative of our title. six coordinators and the things that they do, and especially right now it's hard to do things. But please, if there are things going about in your schools that affect your Native students and you feel like my office should know and that we need to bring it to someone's attention, please do that. And Chuck, I thank you very much for sharing what you did. Especially now and when we're all in our homes and getting a little bit of cabin fever,
Oh yeah.
it's good to have these activities that you can do with your kids and things. I just threw my kids in karate. They think they can beat me up now. We asked them how the first date went.
Give him a few years.
I know. I said, wait till I'm 55. Just kidding. No, I asked them how karate went. They were kind of disappointed because they didn't get to chop wood. Like, I was like, I got an axe outside. I'll get you chopping wood. No. But thank you all for your work. Please let us know if there's anything we can do for you. I have to get back to another meeting, but I can stay for a couple of minutes if you have any questions on the legislation that I went over. If not, thank you all. Have a good one, and I'll see you all soon, hopefully in face-to-face.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Dustin.
Dustin?
Hello, are we still on? Can you hear me out there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, great, good. I thought I lost the crew. Hey, again, thank you for your, brief updates on the legislative, things that are going through the legislative sessions, Dustin. So now we're going to go according to our agenda this morning. We have a professional development that's going to be offered by your colleagues, the Title VI programs. I know that oftentimes that we find ourselves become stagnated in our own programs, and some of the ideas are there, and that this is the time that I thought that it would be a good time to share with one another in terms of program resources, some of the I guess ways in which we could get around what we have today with that COVID, because it's really limiting our association with our students on the face-to-face. And I think that Eileen and Tia, I've listened to their program, I've listened to their presentations in the past, and they have some very, very good ideas. So with Tia and Eileen, you can go ahead and take the floor, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, can you see me and hear me?
Yes, we can see you.
Oh, okay. I can't see myself, so I don't know what's on, if I'm on or not. I am going to be sharing some information about the early creation of my program and how it's grown and some of the components that we've added and everything. My name is Eileen Quintana. I'm out of Nebo School District in Spanish Fork, Utah. I've been a resident of this area for many years, so I just wanted to introduce myself. All right, give it to Tia.
Awesome. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, good morning. Yat bene she Tia Yazi and she honogaki nishlan torachitni bushes chin honogaki dashache aro maidish kishin dashanele. So most of you know me. I work for Salt Lake City School District. I'm the title coordinator there. But I'm really happy to be working with Eileen, and we've done this presentation a couple weeks ago for the art teachers throughout the different school districts in Utah, as it was requested by the University of Utah Art Department. So thank you, Dr. Foster, for inviting us today.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're excited to share some ideas, and also to just go over what we did for the art teachers. So one thing they asked us to do, let's see, can you guys see the presentation? Okay, can you try to, awesome, so we introduced ourselves. So they asked us to talk about how to approach teaching diverse art forms and content respectfully and appropriately. We felt it was highly important to cover this topic with art teachers, but also with just everybody in general. I think as educators, we should know what that fine line is between cultural appropriation and appreciation. So we'll talk about that for a little bit, and then Eileen will also talk about her program, as she said. So why is this important? So we felt this is important because by incorporating authentic voices and lived experiences from those who you are learning about, students and educators begin to understand that history, culture, language, and much more make up our people, community, land, and sovereignty. And we also feel it's important to understand that there are over 573 federally recognized tribes in the United States, each with their own unique language, culture, land-based history, and art forms. Eileen, did you want to talk about this part?
Yeah, there are 8 federally recognized tribes in Utah. Down in southern Utah, there's the Navajo Nation. And in the same area is the White Mesa Ute, the San Juan Southern Paiute, and down towards the west, Paiute Tribe Shivwits, Paiute Tribe in Cedar City, Paiute Tribe Indian Peaks, the Paiute Tribe Kashem, the Kanash over there, middle of the state. And then over on the west, there are 2 tribes we know, the Goshutes, the Confederated and the Skull Valley. Way up north is the Northwestern Band of Shoshone. And on the east side is the Uinta and Ouray Reservation of the Northern Ute tribe. So those are the tribes here in Utah.
Yeah. And then we had, in our last presentation, we had a couple questions regarding what is federally recognized. So I'm pretty sure we all know what that is. So if you ever have questions, you can ask us, or even anybody you know. I think we all should know. So we'll keep going. Let's see. Awesome. So appreciation versus appropriation. So appreciation is when someone seeks to understand and learn about another culture and an effort to broaden their perspective and connect with others cross-culturally. Appropriation is simply taking one aspect of a culture that is not your own and using it for your own personal interests. So one example I like to give is right now on social media, there's a lot of non-native people taking squash blossoms and claiming it as their own tradition, and saying that it's not technically native made, and it's not, they didn't get inspiration from Native American people, and that's appropriation, because they're not giving credit to the tribes or to the native people who have made those pieces of jewelry or art forms historically and since time immemorial. And then Eileen provided a YouTube link right here to a great video that talks about appreciation versus appropriation. So after the presentation, we'll share all the links and all the info on here so you all have access to those things.
I wanted to share information about my Indian ed. And what I wanted to share was that we've been in operation for 21 years, and we've been, at the beginning, we were a consortium with Alpine and Provo, and then we went on our own and everything. So we started out, when I first started, I had absolutely really no idea how to be able to contact. There was no one really to train me in my own district, so I had to go out on my own and find all the families and get their 506 forms, and come to find out we had close to about 75 families. This is the story from way back then to now. So go ahead and turn that screen, Tia. What I wanted to do is, after we have grown and added components to the program, that very first year, we only have $9,000 to work with. And it wasn't, very much and everything, but I wanted to make sure that we were taken care of and everything. One of the things that I did was start looking at some of the information that was out there about Native American educators, and John Rayner was one that I really loved the way that he thought. Educators must be involved with parents in the planning and the learning activities and the curriculum. This is something that's very important. And it is a part of our grant to recognize this. And school curriculum needs to reflect the cultural background of the student. In all the years that we have taken the scores and everything, we as Indian Ed people know that our students score kind of low in math, in all the main courses, the core subjects and everything. And it isn't because they're lacking, it's because of the curriculum that we put forth and the way that we're teaching them. This is what I'm learning. If we share information, share accurate historical events and contributions of American communities, that ways we validate Indian contributions, share the whole story, and be honest about what happened here in Utah. Share what tribal nations brought forth, their tribal language, offer tribal language classes, offer culturally relevant books, and indigenize the student learning. I kind of, at the very beginning, came across some very exceptional people. Martha Ann Argyle was one, Brenda Buell was another one, and we put our heads together. We started a summer school right away. We started an after-school homework lab. I knew that one of the biggest obstacles that we were facing at that time, when I took those 75 families and the children and looked at their grades and attendance, I could tell that there was a lot of work we needed to do. And so I knew that Indian perspectives have, contribute, expand the social, political, and economic dialogue. American Indian history is one of cultural persistence, creative adaptation, renewal, and resilience. I knew this. I wanted to share this, and I wanted my students to be a part of that. So go ahead and turn the slide. I wanted to make sure that there were always high expectations. Kids will reach any expectation that you put, and they'll even exceed that expectation. If you put the bar here, they're going to come to that bar and exceed it a lot of times. Hire American Indian teachers. I'm very fortunate to work with a school district that has listened to our voices. I have Shoshana Begay, I have Annalisa Allison, and I have Natalie Billy. Natalie is not Native, but she's married to a Navajo. And so she's aware of all of the issues that come with raising a Native child and everything. So this is something that been able to do is add these teachers, and we've added more funding, and I'll share that with you in a minute, with our Indian Ed money. So one of the biggest things I encourage everyone is to read that Indian Nations at Risk Task Force information, and how schools that respect and support students' language and culture are significantly more successful in educating those students. The reason why so many fail is sometimes their school environment is not conducive to the interaction that should take place, especially with children of color. And so we need to be aware of the things that we wrote right there. Testing must be used to help students learn effectively rather than to sort and to label students. Okay, let's turn the page. NABLE Title VII, Title VI has been in operation for 21 years. Last year we had 224 students enrolled with a 506 form. We got about $45,000 into our district. Now I write a lot of my own supplementary grants to fund a lot of the activities that we do. That's the only way. And at the beginning, when I first started this job, I had absolutely no idea how to write a grant. If I can do it, and I'm really old school, then anybody can do it. I started learning how to write the Utah Arts Council grant from Martha and Brenda, and I continued writing, and that's how much I was able to get. The Dream Starter program offers about $12,000. If I have somebody that is wanting to be a part of it, that's how I was pulled into that program. And we've had 3 Dream Starters come out of our school district. They only pick 10 across the nation. So these are really good opportunities that as a Title VI coordinator, you should keep an eye out for. And thank you, Chuck, and the state. USBE gives us that extra for helping. And you know what? I want to say too that my district, Nebo School District, really comes through. They pay half of my salary, and they give a lot of money to my Indian Ed program by collaboration with federal programs. It's braided into our funding and everything. We're the 6th largest. We have 30 elementary schools, 13 secondary, 5 special programs, all of this right here. Okay, let's go on. These are the activities that I offer now. These activities were scheduled, the after school homework lab. We do it out of this classroom. This classroom opens on Mondays. We can tutor students here. We do all of our workshops out of here. There's another one in Springville out of Cherry Creek Elementary that we use on Wednesday evenings, and we're able to do exactly the same thing. Right now during COVID season, we're only doing those tutoring sessions in family groups. So there is tutoring help in the school, and we identify those students that really need help with like reading or their homework, and we go out to the school and help them with that. During camp, the summer, during June, we offer that Camp Eagle Summer School. It's held the whole month. We start at 8 o'clock in the morning, go till noon. I usually hire a bunch of teachers to help me with that. And that extra supplementary, I don't know how to say it. The extra monies pays for all of this to be able to get it done. The cultural, academic, and leadership workshops are all taken care of out of these 2 classrooms. The performing arts group, we do the scholarships, the Navajo government classes out of here. I can actually, for the Navajo language, the way I do it is I pull down the screen and I stream it through here. I have students come in and watch from here. I'm here to help them with their pronunciation and all that. Make sure you include your parents and have them be a part of the planning of the program. All right, let's go on. So what I wanted to do too was, this is the information that we shared. I noticed that as soon as you offer anything cultural, these are some of the things that we've offered in the past. The 3-hide buckskin dresses out of Utah. We did this with our high school students, and they're learning how to bead a full buckskin dress. We learned how to make hand drums. We made our own hand drums. I think we had a lot of hand drums that came out of here. We've had Native American singers and drummers that have come in. Jonathan Yazzie out of Arizona came up and taught students how to sing and drum. We have done the ornaments, making Native American ornaments. We put on plays, winter stories, and the kids play acted it out on stage. The stories about coyote, the different animals. We've made bustles, fancy dance bustles, and grass dance outfits, regalia, and all that, flute making things, and put on performances. That's how we, during summer school, I always have a class for the parents as well. In the auditorium up on stage, I always hire a teacher that can help teach parents how to make their kids' own regalia, so that every child has their own tribal wear for the powwow that ends the summer school, so that they are outfitted and ready for that whole thing. I hire artists from across the nation, not only Native. We had artists that came in and taught poetry and filmmaking. We've had artists that came in and taught the kids how to do plays and everything. All of this are things that kids are interested in. They love being able to do things where they're active in it. And if you take a look at the graph down here, NEBO graduation rate for Native Americans, when I first started in NEBO, our graduation rate was 37% for American Indians. That's not good. So I was shocked. My own children were here in the school district. So we started really, really getting on this. The second year it went up to 40%. The third year it went up to 75%. The fourth year, it went up to 92%, I believe, and then 94%. And we've been able to keep it way up there, but there's a lot of work involved. Each year we add components. Things that work. I can tell there are certain things that are going to work. There's certain things I take out, and we all kind of collaborate to put it together. And I want all the Title VI coordinators to know that I started out exactly at the very bottom. I had no idea what I was doing. But we have to remember when our leaders really negotiated for equality in education and opportunities for our children, we need to take that seriously. Our people suffered so much for us to be able to keep on giving these opportunities. We need to make the playing field more level for our children so that they can get those jobs and get into college and be able to support their families and be able to contribute back to their communities. So I wanted to tell that story. So Tia, I think that's about it.
Yeah, and then you have your Camp Eagle video.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Let me try to pull that one up. Can everybody hear it? Can you hear it?
Yeah, we can hear.
See, I brought in certain people that can help with science. I think we brought in Nino at one point to help with certain parts of these. And Aldrich helped us with that one. One time with the morning before their run. Field trip. We have between 75 to 130 students sign up for this program in the summer.
Ocean, across the desert, to the mountain high. With our people, hear our voices rising to the sky. We are the children of many colors, and ever since our birth, we've been sisters, we've been brothers, and we live on our Sunday night, at midnight, guard our mother's land. Together, let's protect her, every grain of sand. We are the children of many colors. Ever since our birth, we've been sisters, we've been brothers, and we live on our
There's the parent sewing class.
We move in the rhythm of the circle of life and listen to Earth's song. We dance to nature's heartbeat and keep our mother strong.
We all share the water we drink, the food we eat, the air we breathe. We all share the sky above, the river below, the land we love. We are the children of many colors. Ever since our birth, we've been sisters, we've been brothers, and we live on many colors. Ever since our birth, we've been sisters, we've been brothers, and we live on to take care of mother.
Okay. Yeah, so those are all ways that you can really think on how to make learning exciting. Once you are able to get to know the students and their families, you'll see that their whole world just opens up. There are ways that we can help by talking to teachers to include books, more books about American Indians, more culturally relevant curriculum material so that our students' learning is really meaty and everything. And not only for our students, but for all Utah students. So, all right, Tia.
Cool, thank you. So I think also we wanted to make sure we include Son Sanchez. He provided a video of his experience growing up here and attending his school and being a part of his Title VI program. So Son is from the Nearwater clan, born for the Mexican people. He resides in Salt Lake City, Utah with his wife and 2 children. He is a full-time stay-at-home father and will be completing graduate school this year at Utah Valley University. Son acknowledges his personal and professional mentors in learning about powwows, cultural practices, parenting, education, and more recently, the medicine of movement through running. Upon graduation, Son will pursue working with underprivileged youth in a professional setting as a social worker. His dedication to kinship while utilizing the tools necessary to assist in navigating the complex systems while honoring their identity inspire his work within the community. And then we have his video. Do you have anything else you want to add about him, Eileen?
No, that's good. That's good. He was one that really helped a lot. Son offered his skills of teaching my students how to grass dance and hoop dance in the early years, and he put in a lot of work during his junior high days and has continued to this day helping our program.
Yate. My name is Cesario Sanchez. I also go by Son. I'm a father to 2 young boys. I am a husband and a community member, as well as I'm a student. I'm in my 2nd and final year of the Master's Social Work program at Utah Valley University. And I was asked to give a reflection of my experience, my lived experience of being a person of color, a student of color, within the public school education system. I grew up in Utah County. I graduated from Spanish Fork High School, and I went through grade school in Payson, as well as Spanish Fork. And some of the challenges that I faced as a person of color, I was usually the only person of color in the classroom. And that is true as of now. In my cohort, I am one of few, probably 2 or 3 other persons of color. Certainly, I am the only Indigenous person in my cohort. And I have found that it's something that I have encountered throughout my whole going to school. Some challenges that I faced as a younger person is being called on when it comes to Native American topics, when we're learning about different tribes. I was supposed to be somehow the expert to the many tribes, the communities and the clans. And that put a lot of pressure on me because as a person who is navigating their identity at such a young age, that was problematic for me because I was ambiguous in my biraciality. I walked many different worlds. I walk into worlds as a person of color, learning my Indigenous roots and unlearning some of the colonized ideas and ontology that I grew up with, as well as trying to live in this society. I'm urban native. I grew up in the city. I never grew up on the reservation, so I was always challenged with who I am, my identity, how to navigate that, and being where I'm at in my indigeneity. Am I native enough? Am I traditional enough? And then also, do I have enough education to live in this Western world? Do I make enough income? And how can I survive? So I remember in junior high, taking the Utah history class, and I was excited. I thought to myself, I'm finally going to learn about some indigenous tribes of this state. Halfway through the term, halfway through the book, there's about 2 paragraphs dedicated to Native tribes. And within those small paragraphs, it alluded to the fact that Natives were seen as thieves and nomadic, and all these different troublesome words that I learned and my peers learned about Natives. So that was particularly problematic in me trying to navigate who I am and being proud of my cultural roots. In addition to that, I remember reflecting on many of microaggressions that I faced within growing up. I was always into sports. I loved football, and I worked so hard. I was the fastest person on the team. I memorized all the plays that I could, and I worked so hard, and I never dropped a ball. I played the position of a tight end, and I was strong. I was fast, and I was quick, and I knew my stuff. But I never continued because the coaches would never play me, and I had other friends who are within the school who experienced the same thing. They remember saying it's not worth playing high school ball because you're not going to get any playing time. You're just going to be working that hard and sitting on the bench. So those are some things that that I feel like I missed out on, and I wondered why. As a kid, why did I have to put up with this stuff? I think it's very important to understand that Native Americans exist and we are within the community. We're not characters of a sports team. We're not, we don't wear headdresses. Not all tribes wear headdresses. It's interesting if you Google Native American, it's always old black and white pictures of chiefs in headdresses. Google puts us in the setting of our historical past, but we're here. We're social work students. We're dentists. We're lawyers. We're within the community, and we're fighting for that inclusivity, and we're fighting to bring our children up and not have to worry about the images placed on us as a people, which include mascots and having this fake or this fantasy of what Native American is. That's something that I advocate for. That's one of the reasons why I want to be a social worker, is I want to be there for young children and their ability to support them as they navigate these different worlds. I hope this was useful for you. I just wanted to give a disclaimer that this is my lived experience, and it's something that I have encountered and I have had to process throughout my years. And I hope that it only gets better. I know that things are changing, and I'm happy to see things change, and I'm part of that fight. Thank you for listening.
Awesome. So that was his presentation. So we're super thankful that he was able to provide that video. So we'll continue with the presentation. Let me share it. Awesome. So we'll review what we've kind of gone over and how to prevent cultural appropriation in the classroom. And so I think the information we gave is not only for us as Title VI coordinators, but also you can share with your teachers within your school district. And all of these resources we give you to, you can share it with them, because I think we work with Native American students predominantly, and all of our other teachers mostly work with non-Native students. And so it's important to share this information and knowledge and not be gatekeepers of it, so we can make sure that our children, our Native children, are being heard and being seen, and it's very appropriate and culturally respective. But one thing to consider when preventing cultural appropriation is considering the context. What are you talking about? Who are you speaking to? Which tribe are you teaching about? What art form are you trying to teach the children? So these are all good things to consider when trying to prevent cultural appropriation. And then inviting authentic voices to your space. So inviting elders, tribal community members, Title VI coordinators, anybody from the community who really has their experience from the tribe or who wants to share their lived experience. I think we all know it's very important to include our voices and not to just invite them only during Native American Heritage Month or during the spaces in which only our Native voices are widely heard on a national level. We want to invite them every time because it's very important to share that and then to listen. We want to make sure we're being respectful and listening to what is being shared. And I think I like what Hassan said. He's not a spokesperson for all Native American tribes, but just his own lived experience. And we're all unique and different. So it's very important to make sure we're inviting a broad or a wide multiple of people so we get all of the stories. And then the last thing that before I hand it over to Eileen for the last one is to understand that there are over 573 tribal communities that are unique from each other. I think for a lot of time for my school district, I get asked to be a spokesperson for all tribes, but I can't do that because I don't know the other tribes' languages, their cultural, their rules, or anything like that. So I try to be respectful and just speak from my own lived experience and how I grew up. And even for Navajos, we have different stories, we have different kinships, we have clanships. So it's very important to me that I make that clear. And then, Eileen, did you want to talk about the 3 S's?
All the 3 S's. Make sure when you're talking about the 3 S's stand for source. Source has the source community either or directly invited you to share this particular bit of its culture, or does the community as a whole have the history of harmful exploitation? Significance or sacredness? What's the cultural significance of the item? Is it just an everyday object or image, or is it a religious artifact that requires greater respect? And similarity, how similar is the appropriated element to the original, or is it just a knockoff, or just a nod to a color scheme or silhouette? That's what the 3 S's stand for.
Awesome. Cool. So going on, we want to provide some resources. So this list is what Eileen and I put together of resources that we used, or websites that we often used when we're working with our students. But we also gave this to the teachers that we presented to. so that they were able to know what was culturally appropriate without doing a Google search or a Pinterest search and finding something online that might not be culturally appropriate. So this was a short list. I know there's many others out there, and I'm sure you all have a lot more resources too. But we'll share these links. A lot of them are from UEN, Teach Rock, Utah Arts Council, and the National Indian Education Association. So many of them are curriculums or videos, or they already have lesson plans put together. So definitely take time to go through these and find what is useful for you in your program. So I think these have been really helpful for us. And then we also want to share literature that we've had or have used within our program. One thing that I like to use is the American Indians and Children's Literature website. So they have a list of the top books written by Indigenous people going back until 2010, and usually they're in grade ranges. So they'll have like K through 5, middle school and high school, and then adult literature. And so these are some that I've used in my program or have given to kids and their families. And so I think it's really important to include the literature and to show the children that they're represented in these texts. And then when I go to schools also, I give some to the library to make sure that they're being inclusive of our Indigenous literature. So this is a great resource. I know there's many other lists out there.
There's one, the San Juan School District Media Center does an excellent job. I know within my own program, about 85% of my population of students that I work with are Navajo. So I do concentrate a lot on Navajo. They have books that are very reasonably priced. And I just recently got all the 5 coyote stories for $10. They're the old videos that you can order. I usually try to make a point of buying one of everything out of their media center. And that way I am prepared for Navajo language classes, for all the other classes, the government class, and some of the other things that we use in our after school and our summer school program. So there's some great websites. Meredith Schramm came out with that book. I would highly recommend you get a hold of those American Indian lessons. You can get that off a link on Running Strong, the Running Strong store.
Awesome. And then, so if you all have links too, you can share it, but we'll send the presentation out after this too. And then the last thing we want to share are art resources. So these are activities that we gave the teachers that they could use in their classroom. So Eileen put together a list of art resources and sample lessons and curriculums. So definitely recommend going through these also. And again, this is a short list. I know there's a lot more out there. And so it just takes a little bit of time to look at, but we want to make sure we give everybody something that they could easily access within these links.
You know, a lot of you may worry about funding. How are we able to bring in the speakers and everything? When I first started, having only $9,000 to work with for a full year, you figure out ways to, and we natives, we're good at stretching the dollar. We've had to. So what I did was I went through my families and I kind of noted when I visited their homes to get 506 forms, who was into what families maybe had storytellers, what families made moccasins, what families powwowed, what families were really good at cooking. And then I turned around and I concentrated on those people that knew how to do these cultural things, and I brought them into the program. And a lot of them volunteered. A lot of them, at the beginning, just really, really put in, bought into the program and really helped them. To this day, it's still the same. There's a lot that we can do within our own Title VI families. You don't have to go far away to be able to bring in those specialists. We have them within our midst. And the one thing that I wanted to say too was, I feel like, in a way, I think like an old soul. I was raised by my mother, who was raised by her grandmother. And my grandmother used to always teach things from way back in the 1800s, the long walk, all of that. My mother repeated those things. My mother always told me that if you take a look at children and you help them to empower their self-worth, their self-identity, and help that, everything else will fall in place. That's why I say, when you do things culturally, when you do things traditional teaching, that will really help in their academic area, in their social area, in their emotional and everything. So I definitely believe that we are Nohokati, and up here on my wall, I have that. I tell all my children, you are a very special person, Nohokati, and you are a holy, sacred being on the surface of Mother Earth. That's the name that our deities gave us to describe us as human beings. We're all five-fingered human beings. We have a lot to share with the world. The world is destroying the earth and the natural resources. We, as Native people, know how to be great stewards of these things. We need to vocalize, and we need to talk loud. We need to be able to share our teachings of Ho'oponopono, of unity, and of good thought positivity, because the world needs it desperately at this time. So stand forward, talk loud, and make sure your voice is heard, especially when it involves those that are the most vulnerable, which are our children. Our children are going to be our future tribal leaders. That's a big responsibility. So we need to really make sure that we're doing our job. So I wanted to end with that kind of thought. So, Tia.
Yeah, so we also thought it was good just to have this information. I think we all have it, but it's always a nice refresher to know that we have all these Title VI coordinators here in Utah. And I think we do a good job at supporting each other. I know Eileen has helped me. I think I've worked with Meredith and Wendy, and so I can think of many others that have helped me along my way. So definitely reach out to us if you have questions. And so, yeah, and these are just Eileen's, her Nebo website links, or anything that you can use to follow her and watch her ideas. So these are good resources too. But yeah, just feel free to contact us. That's our information. But that's it.
Well, thank you. That was very informative. I really enjoyed the whole process. This gives us some tips, some suggestions, recommendations, some sources that we could look at. And I also like the the things that you both do in your school districts. it's pleasing that you advocate for your students through these activities. So again, I'd like to thank both of you. I think on that, I saw that one little corrections that need to be made on all the Title VI coordinators. Weber School District, they have Karen Miller is the coordinator there. So I don't know if Karen's on or not, but she's the coordinator. Or if not, that we just made her a coordinator. All right, let's move on to the next part of that. And well, let's first of all, does anybody have any comments on what was presented just a few minutes ago? And if not, we'll go on to the next piece, which is the Title VI updates.
Chuck, this is Wendy.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Eileen and Tia. When we had the arts thing, somebody had reached out to me to do this presentation, and I don't feel like it was appropriate for me to do a presentation like that. And so I reached out to some of the other coordinators, and
right.
I just want to know if, any of the other coordinators are willing to do presentations or whatever. I feel like we have a lot of need in our district. We've still had situations arise where things are happening that probably shouldn't. So if any of the other coordinators or anybody else that's on that might be willing to do professional developments or whatever, maybe you could just let us all know, because I always think it's great to be able to put on professional developments for our teachers so that they know. So they know. So anyway, and I also was going to ask if we might be able to use the video that Sicario did. I just think it's a really good example and something that our teachers could really benefit from hearing that perspective.
That, if you go into YouTube and you look under NEBO Title VI Indian Ed, we have our own channel. And so we posted that video to that channel. Didn't we do that? I think so. Yeah. It's a part of the presentation. So maybe what I can do is even do that one by itself. Get a hold of me. You've got my phone number, and I can do that piece. Or Tia can help.
Okay, so he's okay with us using that for our teachers? Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
He is really, really good. I've had him several times teaching students about drumming and singing, about dream catchers, about all kinds of stuff. He's the one that usually does my powwow for me down through the
Well,
years.
Eileen, he needs to come do ours because his son is in our district.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's my son. And when you do Indian Ed, he was only in junior high when he started. And when I'm doing something, the whole family has to do it. So my oldest daughter, Tasha, taught fancy dance and taught sign language. And the son did the grass dance. They worked right along with me. I wouldn't have been able to have done all the things that we've done without their help and my families and the community that I come from. Thank you, Chuck, for everything that you do. If it wasn't for your money, we wouldn't be able to do half the summer school that we put forth.
Okay, Sarah, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was going to just say I do something similar in my district, because my first year I saw that we had just nothing but issues, and the teachers didn't know how to teach it appropriately, as Dr. Foster hears weekly.
Yeah.
But I started doing a presentation for all our elementaries. We have 63 elementaries, and I've got about 40 done. But the teachers afterwards are so grateful. They didn't understand the sacredness of the things that they portray every day for these kids. So I think it's so important as coordinators that we either present the appropriation or do something like that. And I have a whole PowerPoint. I take about 20, 30 minutes at their professional developments to teach them and then give them some resources. I mean, I think we should get together and share all our resources so we can have a good list
I think that's
compiled.
yeah. Anything that we have posted, anyone, if you can use it, use it. And, adapt it, do whatever you want to do with it, and you're welcome to do that. That's how I learned, was watching other programs and what they did. Every year for almost, oh my goodness, from the beginning, every fall I visit the elementary schools, and we do contributions of American Indians to our society, contributions in food, contributions in famous people, what they contributed, contributions in inventions, in medicine, in language, in places, all of this. That needs to be shared, and that needs to be talked about, because if it wasn't, Utah wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for our contributions. And we still need to, really be on top of things. So.
Right. Thank you. We got another comment from Renee.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just so you guys know, I'm in the process of making a Google folder that you'll all have access to. It'll have all the monthly agendas, any paperwork, but it'll also have a file that you guys can drop stuff into, and that may be a way for you to share.
Well, that's perfect.
Okay. And there was another other, it says one more other wanted to make a comment. Who is that? Okay, I guess, okay. Any other comments? Again, thank you for Tia and Eileen's presentation. I think, again, this is something that kind of regenerates everybody's thought process and some of the ideas they brought out and the direction that you could probably take your program. And again, your programs are all different. They have different dynamics in terms of personnel, families, students, location, the resources that you have. But I think this is a great way to share the resources that we have. Every so often we'll have a group that would like to share and to bring about some ideas that they're developing in their own programs too. So let's go on to the next, it's item number 4, which is the updates for the Title VI programs. And I got a few things here in terms of updates. First is the Utah grants. And I believe that everybody has received their share, but only half of them have applied for that funding. I just encourage you guys to look at the Utah grants and see what's available and use that funding, because that funding, you never know about the state office. They'll sweep that thing in no matter of time. So just be aware that the Utah grants, look into that process where the funding is there. The next piece is the formula grants. I don't have privy to a lot of the information that you guys receive from DC or from the Office of Indian Education, but I do have some colleagues that would share that information with me. There's formula grant information on ESA, EASY grant, Part 1 and Part 2. And I think Part 1 has passed, but Part 2 now it's open from April 5th through May 14th. So that's just kind of an awareness what you guys need to be aware of. Now we get down into the Part
Chuck?
1. Yes.
This is Brenda. The Part 1 application is still open, and I
Yeah.
think
Oh, it
it
is.
closes in March, like the first week of March or something.
Okay. Good. I mean, that's good to know. See, I'm just getting information that's kind of this out there, and I'm just kind of navigating. And again, I don't have privy to things that you guys have. But be aware again with that title, are they easy part 1? You do have an update on the 506 form. And there's sections of that, the section of supplementary documentation as well as instructional videos. So you do have some information on that. And you have Renee, did you have a comment?
No, I can't get my hand to go away.
Okay. And Sierra, you have a comment?
Yeah, no, it just won't go away.
Okay, all right. But that, just kind of be aware of that, again, the important thing here on part 1, you have an update with the 506 form and that easy website. Part 2 has 4 sections. The broadcast, supplemental documentation, program documentation, and instructional videos. Now, I feel that part 2 is really, really important because it answers a lot of your questions. You go to the program documentation. It has the frequently asked questions, assurance, application checklist, tribal consultation, the management of your Title VI funds. So that piece there in the part 2 program documentation has I think this is really, really important. It's very vital to answering some of your own questions. And of course, you have the APR and additional resources. Now, with well, up to this point, are there any questions on just the format of the easy part 1 and part 2?
This is Brenda again,
Okay.
and at first, when I took the training to do the part 1 application,
Mhm.
I was thinking it was going to be a little difficult, but once we got started and got right into the website,
Yeah.
it really is quite easy. It
Right.
kind of saves your information from what you put in from the year before.
Right.
And so then all you have to do is update and then have the person that certifies the grant in your district come down and look through the pages and certify it. And it's all done online. So
Right. Yeah.
it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Dr. Foster, this is Sarai. I think we ended our 4th year because it's a 4-year grant, right? And I
Yes.
never received an email to reapply. How do I just contact them, or how does that work?
You have to reapply. I think they're referring to your goals and objectives, because I think
But I
that was
haven't even got an email to log in for the new grant, and it starts.
Okay. I think what you probably need to do is send that information up there to make sure that you place the your name and who the person who certifies your grant here, your PIN information, your school district, and I think those are the 3 most important things, and send that up to OIE.
Okay.
And again, we have a person that's in-house now. That's Jennifer Leo. You might want to CC it to her also, so she can take a look at that.
Okay.
If you call, even if you call in, they're very, very helpful. The 800 number, all you do is call the 800 number. They will walk you right through how to start it up again. I highly recommend the multi-year. The multi-year is so easy.
That's what we were on, and it ended this last year. So I'm like, I just don't know how to redo it.
I would call that 800 number, and they will be able to walk you through on how to restart it.
Okay.
This is Randy White. Everybody who, even if you were on a multi-year, because they moved it over to the OMB Max, everybody is reset back to a first year. So even if you were only on the second year, in their big webinar, they said that everyone's reset back to restart their 4-year grant this year, no matter what. So if you were halfway through, just understand you're resetting back to the first year of that grant. We also, there's no sign in or password for your grant specifically. They send it to like your authorized agent at the district, and they share that with you and anybody who has that link. So if someone else took that link from me, they could get in there and totally mess with my grant. And so keep that secret, but you know, you don't want anybody messing with that. But they send a single link to the authorized person in your district, and
Would it be
everybody.
like the superintendent?
Ours is just a director in our department. She was the one who we put down as our authorized person, and she's the one who certifies our grant. And so she forwarded that email to me, and I was able to get into our grant and get going on part 1 already. So
Yeah, because that's what I'm missing is that email that says you're allowed to go in.
And we couldn't find that at first, and I did call the PSC, the Partner Support Center, and that's that number they're talking about. And they resent that email to our authorized person, and they were able to tell me who that person was that was going to receive that. So, and I knew who it was because we had put the information in, but they could tell you who they're sending that to, and you could go contact that person and let them know it's coming.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. But I'm glad that, thank you, Randy, for that. So now, are there any other questions on part 1 and part 2 that we could make clear for everybody? Now let's get down into the program documentation. We do have to have the tribal consultation for those people who apply or who qualify. And according to my numbers, there are 12 that do qualify. And I think you know who those, I think you know who you guys are. Now, the question that I'd like to propose or ask is that would you like to have that tribal consultation all pooled into one time where we could talk to one tribal organization? Or do you guys want to go on your own? How do you guys want to handle that? I know that, Brenda, last year you guys did because you're so close to the Navajo tribe, you guys did that tribal consultation with the tribe, the Navajo tribe there.
Yes, we have like a monthly tribal consultation meeting.
Okay.
That happens with the superintendent. And then we also meet with the tribe like at least twice a year. And then they always ask about Title VI and JOM. So we've just been using that as our tribal consultation. If that's okay. And
no, that's fine. You know, everybody's different. I think Melissa and Amanda out at the Uinta Basin, you guys have that consultation there with the Ute tribe too, or don't you, Melissa or Amanda?
Hi, Dr. Foster. Yes, we do. We're able to meet with the education department, Ute Indian Tribe Education Department, to align our goals with the district's goals with both Uinta and Duchesne County school districts.
And that's along with Melissa too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Foster, Sarai again. Can I do the Northwestern Band of Shoshone now that I have a contact?
Yeah. That's what I want to know. If those school districts that don't have a consultation arrangement, if you guys could email me as soon as you can, like sometime between now and next Wednesday of next week, and I can arrange to have that with, like we had last year with the Goshute tribe. So if, and I think you people know who you are. Let me just go down that list. We have Alpine, Cache, Canyons, Davis, Duchesne, Granite, Iron, Nebo, San Juan, Salt Lake, Uinta, and Washington. And I think, Mike, you basically do the same thing down in Washington, don't you?
Yes, that's correct. I meet with the Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah.
Okay. So again, you know, some of you coordinators do have that arrangement already made, so you don't have to email me on that requesting that you'd like to have a consultation with one of the local tribes. And again, the local tribe that I like to work with is the Goshute tribe. So, you know, we went through that last year and the year before that, and I think it went really, really smooth. And because we do have some of their students in our school districts too. Okay. I don't have any other updates other than those parts, and just one update that I'd like to just go over is the MOA and MOU with the Navajo tribe. This is in reference to an agreement that was made a few years ago with their language and the cultural endorsement with our instructors. So that's going to be revamped, and thank you, Brenda, for bringing everybody back to the table on that process. And the other piece is the data sharing with we do with the Navajo tribe and the USBE. And you know, I've said this in the past that if other tribes would like to do a consultation with USBE, you know, that door is always open. We've had that door of opportunity opened, you know, in the last few years. So some tribes they do take up that idea, and some tribes they do not, and they handle everything in house. So I got no more updates. And does anybody have any updates in their school district?
This is Brenda.
Okay.
If you visited our San Juan School District Heritage Language Facebook page, we do have a couple of videos that teachers have been working on posted. For the month of February, we did Kepahajoto. We also did handling verbs, how to pronounce handling verbs in Navajo. So those are some resources that we put on there. I also put in a lot of resources from the tribe for the Navajo Nation. So if you want to check out our Facebook page, you're more than welcome to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another set of ideas. That's great. Thank you.
We're going to be doing a winter storytelling night this coming week on Wednesday evening. And so we're going to be releasing a video. One talks about cradle boards. Another one talks about the program. Another one shares a story, winter story, and everything. But if you're wanting that information, we also are going to be sharing that through our website, through our Facebook, and our YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Foster. This is Melissa Tavapont from UNA School District.
Okay.
And I just wanted to give a little update. Dusty was talking about the mascot thing, and UNA School District Student Council, as well as the Ute Indian Tribe, met regarding their new mascot. We are the UNA Utes, but we do not have a official mascot. The Student Council presented to us that they want to have a mascot, but they want the tribe's blessings and permission to do so. And so we worked together. We were able to come up with something that the tribe approves, and it just went really great.
Great.
Able to establish a a relationship with them where they come to us, we come to them, and it's just been really awesome. So we do have a new spirit animal named after a longtime substitute. So our relationship with the school and the tribe has just been really working together and just been awesome. So I just wanted to give that little update on the whole mascot. And it was asked from the Ute tribe that we call it a spirit animal versus a mascot. So we're making changes in the UNA school district.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's really nice to hear that you have that contribution, consultation, meeting together with the school district and the tribe has an input on that. So that's good news there. And that's the way it should be anyway, anytime that I think with they do have it's a concern or issue with the tribal organization that needs to be brought to the attention of both the school district as well as the tribe. Thank you, Melissa.
Dr. Foster, this is Amanda Jinks. I just wanted to do a quick update in terms of the mascot. The UNA High School student body and their administration actually came over and met with the business committee and the Ute Indian Tribe education department, and they did give their input on that, and they decided on to do a bear, which represents the Utes for our bear dance. And so we were really excited to do this and collaborate with them. So they did, just jumping off what Melissa had stated, they did get input, and it was really a good relationship, and it was a good meeting.
Yes.
We're happy with the result.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is news is getting better and better. Anybody else? Well, again, I'd like to thank all of you, the things that you do for your school district, for your students, for your families, for your community, and for your program. I think you guys are very good advocates. Because again, we do have our students out there, and keep track of these students, and do the best you can in terms of that. I know that COVID pandemic is really changed the way we were doing things in the last year and a half. So do what you can, and and the other is the sharing portion of that. Everybody shares with each other. I think the more we share, the more we could move our program forward. And thank you for all the presenters, Eileen and Tia. Thank you for that piece there, and thank you for the updates that we have here. And these updates, usually I'll get these updates and push it upward toward my supervisor and give him updates on this. They'll be happy to hear that there's the strong consultation in terms of the name and the mascot with the Uinta and Duchesne school districts. Again, I have no other information that I could share. And again, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Yes.
This is Penelope from the Urban Indian Center.
Okay.
I just want to make a quick shout out.
Oh, you bet.
So the Urban Indian Center, we are actually opening up the Moderna vaccine to any available client 18 years and older. This would be tomorrow, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2. You would need to be a registered client. The information is on the website. So if you do have a family member who's 18 and over, they don't have to have chronic health conditions. So we're taking calls now if you're interested.
Oh, great. Good. Do they have to register first before they could meet with you guys on Saturday?
They definitely would need to call
to
set their appointment time. And then what they will ask is either they will bring in the documents or they could just upload it
Okay.
to the UICSL website.
Okay.
Just trying to ensure that
Okay.
the availability is it's manageable, because I know a lot of people sometimes they're not able to upload the documents,
Yeah.
but they could bring those documents in.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Penelope. Melissa, you have your hand up again.
Oh, no, sorry, it just never went down.
Okay. Okay. If there's no more comments and no more information, again, I'd like to thank all of you, and be safe and carry on, and we'll see you the next time around. Hey, thank you again. Yeah.
We'll see you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Hey, Dr. Foster, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, got a coin collection thing for you. You may or may not know about, you remember the $1 coins?
No, what is it?
From about 2009 to about 2017, the federal government made $1 coins all featuring Native Americans. So you might want to look that up or see and go from quarters to dollars now. Oh, you got them. Okay.
I'm up to this. This is the part that I really, I enjoy this. I'm
Okay. All right.
I'll look into it. I'm looking into the presidents also.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have about 14 presidents so far.
Okay.
So
okay.
those
Well,
are,
my dad's a big coin collector, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
growing up, I used to learn about all this stuff, and I never did it. I went more stamps than coins. But I happen to know there's an American Indian, Native American series that they did for about 10 years with the dollar coins. So
yeah.
anyway, there you go. Just another hobby for you.
Yeah, well, I'll be working on that. Thank you, Mike.
You bet. Hey, see you later.
Thank you.